So my second and favorite speaker is Dr. Nidhi Iyer. As I love Nirali, I love Nidhi ma'am also speak.
Without further ado, I would like to go directly to the topic, and at the outset I would like to thank Small Wonders and Harsha ma'am for always standing up for all of us.
Yes.
Because it is very important that as women we support each other, and this is a beautiful group where we always find support in each other. Otherwise what we normally know is that women are the enemies of women.
Exactly.
Saas, Bahu, Devrani, Jetnani, so they are such common examples. So when we have such a wonderful group who stand up for each other, it counts a lot. It is a blessing indeed. Last year has been very difficult for all of us, as we know that we had gone through the COVID pandemic, and now the situation is slowly and steadily improving. But as we talk about leadership and women in leadership in particular on this day, I would like to go back to the COVID scenario. I know it's very scary and it was a tough period, but tough people last, tough times do not. So we've all lasted through it. But then what research was going on, that what was the difference in the outcome of COVID in certain countries. So certain countries did really well in terms of the death rate, the mortality rate, the overall outcome for COVID patients. And mind you, I'm very proud to say that most of these countries were headed by women.
Wow.
Right? So there was heads of state, if you talk about New Zealand. Then there's Jessica Ardern, who played a wonderful role. And they had only 4 COVID deaths initially, when there were thousands of deaths reported throughout the world. They had just 4 deaths which could be counted on your fingertips, and that was a wonderful number to have. There were countries like Finland. You have Sanna Marin, one of the youngest heads of the state. Then you have Angela Merkel. She's as old as probably Margaret Thatcher. She's a pro, but she managed the situation really well. Then you have heads of state in Taiwan, who was again a female. And let me tell you that they don't have a uniform approach. All of them had diverse approaches. Right? Angela Merkel knew that this bug was a deadly bug. So like Trump, she did not put a blindfold and say that nothing is going to happen. Right? We always considered US to be the dream country, the country where all your dreams come true, and always our vision would be to travel to the States one day. That would be definitely on the bucket list. If you could not stay there, you should at least travel there. And once COVID came, you knew how drastically US fell. They were not able to cope up with the numbers, and the approach of the government was very difficult because they just blindfolded them. Nothing is going to happen. But that was not the scenario. At the same time, Angela Merkel said that this bug is going to affect 70% of my population. So she prepared them in that way. New Zealand, Jacinda Ardern, she did a complete lockdown, a very strict lockdown. So they had very different approaches to the same problem, but the outcomes were similar for all of them. And what Trump and Modi and whoever male leaders, they were also putting their best foot forward to fight this virus. But they always considered this to be a war, and the outcome was victory, because when you are at war, they say everything is fair in love and war, as far as then you are victorious. Right? So, but this did not happen in the states which were headed by males mostly. Females, the drive was passion, compassion and patience. So this was the beauty of the approach, and they told their citizens that I am also afraid of this virus. Whereas Trump and other people said, oh, there's nothing to worry, it will all go off, it is only for a short time.
It has worried them only for
And they accepted this, yes, I am afraid of this virus. They talked via the social media to the kids, to adults at separate places, and their interventions really went well. So if I talk about leadership and women in leadership, this is the best example I thought I could quote. Coming to my inspiration, as we are all going vocal for local, so my inspiration is definitely local. And here I would like to quote my favorite author, that is Sudha Murthy.
Wow.
The best part about her is that she broke the glass ceiling by writing to J.R.D. Tata. Because when they opened applications for engineers at Telco, they did not have a post for a female. And she had the guts enough that many years back that she wrote an envelope to J.R.D. Tata, to which he responded. There was a special interview for her, and she got on the board of Telco. So this was a very path-breaking thing to do at that point of time. And she studied engineering when her father was a doctor. And she did that at an age where she was the only female in her class. Mind you, the attention she would have got from the boys. So that part of it was wonderful. So that was her professional side, and then she had the, again take up leadership qualities when they started Infosys. She was rather the one who gave Mr. Murthy the funds, and she's the extrovert as she calls herself. Mr. Murthy is an introvert. But at the end, they're both a humble couple. They're both down to earth. They manage with the bare minimum resources. And when she felt that they were stable, she's brought up both her kids very beautifully. She does a lot of social work without too much hype and glorifying herself too much. And the language she writes in is beautiful, because I've tried a lot of things with my daughter. I used to love reading, and I thought that I could pass at least the same genes to her, because she doesn't resemble me in any way other than that. So I tried a lot. We tried with Harry Potter books, with all the Nancy Drews and famous files, but nothing worked. It is only Sudha Murthy which worked. So that put her a pedestal ahead for me, because she was the one who could relate to my daughter. Because she could relate to the story she said, the language she used, so she was more comfortable reading that. So every time she passes her exams, her constant demand is a Sudha Murthy book, so I'll have to tell Sudha madam to write more now. Or that my daughter learns Kannada. So whatever things have not been translated, that can be gone through. And the social work she does is really wonderful. She's associated with the Gates Foundation, with a lot of libraries and all. So that has been a role model for me as far as my professional and personal life is concerned. And coming to the bias we have faced, so we cannot again be like an ostrich. So now I've been blessed and I've been, in a very beautiful scenario all the time. I have truly been blessed because I've been raised very well. I never knew that there was a gender bias which existed in the society before I moved out into the world on my own. Till then it was like a very safe and secure environment, and we always thought the outside world would be similar. But when I really faced gender bias was when I left my 9-month-old daughter with my parents. When we went to study, my husband was also studying and I was also studying. But the society had thrown backlashes more at me. They never told that the husband can leave the job and they should take care of the child. They always wanted the mother to be there. Because mother is always thought of as the nurturer, the caregiver. That primary responsibility is never passed on to the male. So there were no complaints. And mind you, this was not from people who were illiterate. This was from a pediatrician who was treating my daughter when she was ill, when she was here with my parents, and they took her to a doctor. And he exclaimed that, how could a mother leave a child? If they thought they cannot manage a child, they should not have married or not have given birth at least. So that was a shocker. And coming from a respectable profession, your co-professional, it hurts even more. So this was a very difficult gender bias we faced. There could be many more instances, but this is the one which struck the chord all the time. So that is what I would like to say. But women in medicine have also done wonderfully. We know about Anandi Bai. She was one of the very few first female doctors. And she did it when she was married off at 10, delivered a child, the child died, and her husband inspired her to study. And then she went on for her studies abroad and qualified in medicine. So there are a lot of stories to tell, but something for the next time for sure.
Wonderfully said. And I think what you said about gender bias, Nidhi ma'am, I think all of us, when it comes to giving any judgment or talking about in the family also, if any instance happens in our family, I think honestly we all have to admit that very first time we always look up to the female, if that female leaves the child and goes to work. So I think that is the biggest thing that we have to break in our thought process, and if once we break it, I think only then it will come into the society. Because if I live in a joint family, and if my Derani or Jethani leaves the child and goes, and if the husband leaves the child and goes, then also I will feel, isko to rehna chahiye. So I think that is the biggest stereotype that needs a break, and thank you Nidhi ma'am for putting it here, and everybody here also and listening to us. I think this is the biggest stereotype that we have to break, at least thoughts में. The most we can do is give support. अगर नहीं बोला होता उस pediatrician ने तो इतना hurt नहीं हुआ होता. वही sentence, if it could have been changed and presented, I can understand they both are working. But if the little time could have been taken out by both of them, I think the entire scenario would have changed. So thank you Nidhi ma'am for such an important topic and such an important example that you gave. Over to you Nirali.
Thank you ma'am, and thank you Nidhi ma'am.